We got to talk about this J. Cole situation. For Maul to say he committed career suicide, like that's a dumbass take, to be honest. I thought it was dope. I thought it was dope just because
that shit is dope. Anybody that disagrees, you a bitch.
Okay.
What's going down is At Odds. We're back to being at odds. Someone said last episode was at evens because it was just Dame and I, so there were two of us. Shout out to everyone leaving the hilarious comments.
Very clever, very clever. 2 points.
Honestly, a lot of the comments are really clever, and I'm impressed, constantly impressed. I'm also impressed at how many people are actually taking our call to action seriously, which is to get your music distributed for free on all the major platforms for 3 months. You can get a lot of music distributed in 3 months, especially when you don't have to pay a cent. So go to 2lost.com, use the code @odds, and sign up for 3 free months. And if you decide that you don't want to continue, your music does not get taken down. It stays up on the platforms forever. So it's not a situation where there's a downside, I don't think.
Yeah. And tap into our 2 Lost office hour session. Every week we've been having more and more people tap in. This past Monday was our most attended session yet. These are our weekly live sessions with different guests. This past Monday, I had on our GM and head of business development at 2 Lost. Normally it's an outside person, but every once in a while I'll bring on somebody from 2 Lost so people can get familiar with the team and kind of what we're doing. But I got representatives from ASCAP joining soon. I got my guy Philip Payne joining soon. I got a lot of great guests, and I think people are getting value out of it because people keep hitting me up and letting me know that. So we're going to keep it going. Tap in. Doesn't matter if you're a producer, manager, anybody. Your whole team should tap into these sessions. So hopefully you guys can join us. If you're listening to this right when this podcast drops, it's today, 12 o'clock Pacific on Monday. We're live. All 2 Lost social platforms, it streams, so tap in.
Yeah, and I go super hard on YouTube and the misinformation spread in the online guru community, specifically the music producer community. But last episode, Erinn wasn't here. Well, no one saw it happen because it happened before we started recording, but I spilled a full glass of water all over my workspace. And I didn't realize how much I had spilled on my MIDI keyboard until one of the keys stopped working, and then another key stopped working. And then, so I had 3 dead keys, and I lifted it up and water just poured out of it. I was mortified. So I went on YouTube, and, some of these videos are helpful. I've definitely broken things by following the instructions of these so-called YouTube experts. But this time, and it took forever. It took me like an hour to dismantle this keyboard. But using literally a screwdriver and a graphite pencil, I fixed the keyboard and saved myself like $200. So shout out to the good information on YouTube. And I definitely left a comment of support. It was like a 9-year-old video. So, the content that's helpful, support it. If it's not helpful, my thing is ignore it. However, there are a lot of people that don't like our podcast and are constantly commenting. And in that case, I'm torn because usually I would just be like, yeah, if you don't like it, then leave, don't consume content you don't like. But then also I'm like, it really helps when people are leaving so many comments after watching hate watching a whole episode. So I keep watching. If I'm pissing you off, keep watching because I'm gonna keep doing it. Don't worry, you can count on me. Dave, what do you want to talk about? I know you have a lot on your mind.
So we gotta talk about this J. Cole situation, and of course, at the end of this, we'll talk about what independent artists can learn from this situation in terms of how they're moving, in terms of how the internet works. But I thought we would have learned more about the internet by now. But apparently not. There's a lot of what I think are pretty bad takes, and people might have a different opinion. So obviously we know that J. Cole issued an apology for dropping his diss record in response to Kendrick Lamar's shots that he took on Metro Boomin. It was Metro Boomin and Future. That's That's the song he was on initially. So he took some shots at Drake and J. Cole. J. Cole then responded on a project called Might Delete Later, and it didn't sit right with him. It didn't sit right with him that he felt kind of pressured by fans and the people around him that he had to respond, and he eventually issued an apology live and probably in front of tens of thousands of people, just talking about it didn't sit right on his spirit, and it wasn't the space that he was trying to be in. So he apologized for his diss record in response. Payne, Erinn, what was your initial response to hearing what he said? Just the initial response.
So it was a lot of people, but it was at his festival. It was at Dreamville, and it happened. The album dropped like secretly surprise, like it was a surprise drop on, Thursday night / Friday morning. And then he apologized Sunday, right? It was a Sunday at Dreamville. So it was a quick turnaround for that. I think it takes a big person to apologize in general. I would say that I was shocked that he apologized, not because of who he is or because of his temperament, but I was surprised that the diss came out, especially the way that it did. So then the apology happening so quickly, like the song hadn't even been out for a week. And I don't know, it was surprising. Yeah, it was surprising. I particularly didn't really enjoy the verse in and of itself. So it felt like two L's back to back. You know what I'm saying? But it also understanding how life works and how necessary it is to own your actions. I feel like even though it felt like two back-to-back L's, to me, if that's what he felt he needed to do, it's always a win. I'm always a big supporter of people being true to themselves and true to their belief system. And if he felt like he went against his beliefs and who he is as a human being to put out a verse to prove something to other people, then I do think it's necessary, especially on his own platform, to say what he said. Because some people will try to save face in front of their own fans and be like, well, I'll wait a little bit and then maybe I'll say something, or maybe I'll text Kendrick and post a screenshot. He completely removed his ego on his own stage and said, I own that this isn't who I am, and I want to rectify that with myself. And I really think he did it for himself, because he even said, I know my boys are up there right now. He's like, I can see them. So it was like, he wasn't doing that for anybody. I don't even think he was doing it for Kendrick. I feel like he wasn't doing it for anybody but himself. And so for me, as somebody who's really big on owning my actions and, apologizing even when it's hard, I have a ton of respect for that. It did come at a unique time. I felt like it was, there's a lot of undertones and other things around it that are unique to me. But as a human who respects other humans, who don't just follow what the mainstream, or who don't take the easy path, I think for me it seemed like a big move. It's interesting. I only want to contribute positive words to this conversation, because I think that there are a lot of things as a hip hop fan, as somebody who likes competition, as somebody who enjoys banter in a respectful way. I think there's other things that I could desire, but as a Black woman who thinks that society overall needs to be healed, and that's only going to happen through the influence of people who are cognitive enough to say that I'm going to do what's best for the culture versus what's best for me in this moment. I really respect it. And I have nothing but respect for that move. I think it's a nod to a lot of people to be more thoughtful about their first step, so that their second and third step don't have to be retractions. Even for me, because I heard the verse and I was very surprised by it. I think there's a lot of power in silence. I think there's a lot of power in thoughtfulness. I think there's a lot of power in being weighted and grounded in what you really believe in. So again, because of that, I respect what he did with this.
Payne, what about yourself? What was your reaction to it?
I don't know. I'm not super invested in this. I've kind of, this is me just showing my age, I guess, but I feel like when I was listening to rap, there was always competition, but there was never a big three. You know what I mean? There were like tens of rappers to choose from that were all regarded as greats. I feel like it just shows you how stratified hip hop is today. Well, the music, at least. The culture is a separate conversation. It was just, I just kind of, I don't know. It's. I think it's disheartening that we have this like ivory tower of lyricism, and it's boiled down to the big three. Not to say that I don't like those three artists, I do. But the conversation often revolves around those big three, and then everyone else is kind of seen as outside of hip hop greatness, cultural relevance. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. But that's more of a fan driven culture rather than a culture driven culture. I don't know if that makes sense. This is just a hot take, don't kill me in the comments because my idea is not all that perfectly articulated. But to respond more directly, other rappers apparently have apologized for this. I guess Beanie Siegel has apologized for dissing Jay-Z. I guess Cannabis dissed J. Cole and apologized for it. This is according to a XXL article. So it's not unprecedented. I mean, I think if Cole wants to apologize, and he can apologize. If he wants to diss a rapper who diss him, he can do that. I don't really have a problem with either action or both at once, which is what ended up happening.
Yeah. I mean,
some people are mad. Like Academics was mad.
No, I think cats like that, they have to put on a show. And I think, to be honest, we got to learn from some of these other personalities. We have to like go over the top with some stuff, just to get reactions or, even I'm not going to change what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything I wouldn't say, but maybe we definitely our tone of voice. I'm not going to turn into a character or anything like that, but
J. Cole, what the fuck?
But I thought it was dope. I thought it was dope just because
that shit is dope. Anybody that disagrees, you a bitch.
Okay.
You need some Hennessy. You need to be drunk.
Nah. But I just think as a culture, we've gotten to a place where an apology is seen as weak. So like nobody apologizes for shit. Like you can be wrong. You can be super wrong, and you'll twist your words to make yourself seem right. You'll change topics. Like I was just watching an interview, Mark Lamont Hill. I know it seems like I'm going off course, but Mark Lamont Hill, he has office hours, and sometimes he invites.
Shout out to him, by the way. I love Mark Lamont Hill.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Mark Lamont Hill. And sometimes he invites people that disrespect him in the comments or that have a different take or that get out of pocket. He invites them onto his show. And you got to be ready to debate Mark Lamont Hill. That cat is smart. He's well researched. He's got a PhD. If you come on his show and you're not an experienced debater, you're going to look like a fucking idiot. And that's what he did to this cat. And he kept breaking down why he was wrong. And he kept proving to him that he was wrong. And they refuse to say I was wrong. Or the most you'll get is they'll say, oh, I was wrong, but you were wrong too. So you got to admit something too. Like they don't ever take just individual ownership of something. Like you have to admit the part you were wrong, even if you weren't wrong. That's the most you're going to get out of somebody. So I just thought like, I think you're a bigger man if you apologize. Like if you do something wrong, it should feel good to get that off your heart. So that's what I saw in J. Cole, just kind of getting this off himself. And I understand, like, I've never really been into diss records or battle rap or anything like that. So, some people might say, well, that's just, you're not really hip hop, Dame, or whatever. Like, I get it. I get the competition. I get that it to a lot of people is supposed to be a competitive sport. But I also think that hip hop is finally growing up. Like, hip hop is now turning 50 years old. So you have fans of hip hop that look at things a little bit differently. You have fans that have matured. I don't know if Tupac was alive today. Would he still make a Hit 'Em Up record? Like, would Ice Cube still drop a No Vaseline at this age? J. Cole is pushing 40. J. Cole is pushing 40. And we're asking him to do something that we've never, ever seen done. Have you ever seen two artists that respect each other just go to bat, like just start lyrical warfare, like for no reason, like no real beef? Tell me one classic song that has been made out of thin air, no beef, no ill intentions, nothing happened. They just wanted to prove who was better. What Payne, you're a hip hop head. What classic diss record is just because we wanted to prove who was better?
A diss record or just a record in general?
Just a beef out of nowhere, not because we have a problem with each other, not because you slept with my girl, not because you shot at me, not because you punched me. Nothing happened. Like, literally nothing happened. We're cool. There's been rumors of us actually making a project together. And now we just going at each other just to prove who is best. What song exists like that? A classic record. Is there anything up there? Go ahead, Erinn.
Kendrick has records like that, or has a record like that. I don't know if you consider, I wouldn't necessarily consider it classic, but he names half of the big people in hip hop and is like, I respect you, but I'm the best. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick's track record since the beginning, when he did his double XL freestyle, all that, that's just in his nature. I know you're saying it for J. Cole to go back at him, but I feel like that's Kendrick. His temperament, his whole time in the rap game has been, I just want y'all to know, I do this for sport. I do this for fun. Love y'all, but I'm better. So if you were talking about just one example in hip hop, I would say he is the example of that.
No, I'm talking about an exchange. Like, cats always say they're the best. Like, J. Cole, I'm sure has bars that say he's the best. Lil Wayne used to say he was the best. Jay-Z say he was the best. I'm talking about an actual exchange, like a Jay-Z Nas, like a Biggie Tupac, an NWA Ice Cube. Like, which one of those is an example of just two people like flexing their lyrical abilities? With respect.
What it is with rap, it's usually general. Like, Jadakiss is always going to say top 5, and he's always going to deliver. Also, that's just my opinion. I think Jadakiss is right when he says top 5, but I also hate the top 5 conversation. I'm just saying there were always the super MC tracks, solo tracks. But that didn't mean that Jadakiss was calling out, any of his contemporaries. Eminem was, all the rappers that came from the battle scene were making that kind of music. It was like every record was a diss record to an invisible rapper standing in front of them. Now, I listen to dancehall, and every year around Sting, everyone starts dissing each other. And they're going back and forth. And very rarely is it personal. It's just, this is what we're doing. Oh, people keep comparing us. I came up around the same time you did. We're the same age. Whatever. We have similar styles according to the media. All right, I'm going at you. We go back and forth. So I personally... I like that kind of music. I like, I thought Alkaline made the best music when he was beefing with Six, but that's my point. Like, unless there's something real, it's probably very difficult for an artist to get in that space to deliver the type of music that we want to hear, right? Like, Hit 'Em Up couldn't happen unless Tupac was really in that space. No Vaseline doesn't happen unless he's really in that space.
it's now come down to like 3 people that we have: Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick. And these cats are at the top of their game. They fill out stadiums. Like, what could you, unless somebody personally does something to you, or you see them do something crazy? Like, Drake might be the easiest of the 3 to kind of clown because he's a little different. But it's like, what could you say about J. Cole? Like, what can you say about Kendrick? That's why, to me, like, you know, a lot of these folks saying, oh, that's gonna actually, matter of fact, Maul from Rory and Maul with the worst takes of the past 24 hours, he says Cole just committed career suicide. Like, has this cat not been on the internet? Does he not know how this shit works? This is being talked about more than if the diss was good. Like, this is going to create more respect for J. Cole in the long run. He might get more fans from this because there's a lot of people that have, and I'm not going to say the people that want to see bloodshed are immature. Like, I get the competition aspect. If you want to see them compete, I get it. But I just hope you see the other side of this, that this cat is almost 40 years old. If he's not, he's already like 39, 40 years old. Like, he's just not in that space. And you can't force somebody in that space to deliver, you know, something on that level. I mean, he could still make great music. I still consider him the big 3. He's not falling out of the big 3 just because of this, because I didn't put him in the big 3 because he can make battle rap records or diss records. Yeah. That's not why he's there. He's there because he makes great music and he's going to continue to do so. So,
well, if I had to ask J. Cole one question about the apology, I guess it would be piggybacking off what you said, Dame. If part of it was just that he wasn't in that space and maybe it felt forced because if he felt compelled to respond or obligated to respond based on all the attention that the Kendrick verse was getting, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're right. I think it'd be hard to go that hard against someone that I'm not genuinely mad at. But then again, it depends on the person because some people just have fun doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch battle rap. Again, salute to people that appreciate battle rap. If you enjoy it, great. If it's paying your bills, that's even greater. But for me, like, I just don't know how many different ways you can fake murder somebody. It's like, okay, like, you guys just keep telling, I got my gun, I'm gonna shoot him in the head. Boom, turn around again. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's how it sounds to me. It's like, I need a beat. You know, I want to hear somebody flow. Like, but that's just me. I'm older now, so like, I definitely don't. You know, I don't look for diss records. It took me a while to even listen to the J. Cole record or even the Kendrick one. I'm like, I'm not that interested. I'm not going to listen right away. It doesn't matter to me. So, you know, admittingly, it's an older perspective, but I think a lot of people in hip hop have grown up and share a similar perspective. But for Maul to say he committed career suicide, like, that's a dumbass take, to be honest. Like, you think people aren't going to fill up stadiums still when he tours? Like,
yeah, I don't agree with that. But also, you know, I think that.
Yeah, so I take everything guys like that say with a grain of salt because it's an attention economy. I don't think that was like a legitimate statement.
I mean, he kept going in. He's like, if Drake is MJ and Kendrick is Prince, is it safe to say that Cole is Lionel Richie? Like, I mean, I hate the time we're in terms of the attention economy because, you know, that's going to flow into our second or third topic because you have to hyperbolize everything. You know, every video on YouTube has like this sensationalized, you know, hyperbolized, you know, wording. And it's not even that. It's like you have to say destroys or gets murdered. Like, you have to use all these inflammatory words just to get people to click. And, you know, people are doing the same thing with their tweets.
Well, do you want to jump into another hyperbole? Because this is pretty crazy.
Let's do it. Are we done? I think I'm done with the J. I just want to, the takeaway is, you know, you're not weak if you apologize. I feel like you're weak if you don't apologize. If you know you did something wrong, if you feel like something wasn't right, and you don't apologize, you're a clown and you're immature. So I hate the fact that in like a lot of people think the opposite, or a lot of people think J. Cole is weak for apologizing. I don't like that at all. Because in life, in your real relationships, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You're a man if you do apologize. So if you do some dumb shit, whether it's to your manager or with your fans or the other artists that you work with, own it, because that's the only way that you really gonna move past it. Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So I had to dig because TJ posts a lot of stuff. But who was the gentleman that made this video? This was reposted by TJ of TJ's DJs. And obviously this is an amazing headline. How to sign yourself over 6 figures. Okay, what it means is how to sign yourself for over 6 figures without a major label. So basically how to get a 6-figure advance without actually signing to a label, which I think is already a problematic title because that's not really at all what this is. But
the real wave, the real wave man.
How to sign yourself to your own 6-figure deal without a major record label. So in order to sign yourself, the first thing we're going to need to do is establish your music business name. For this, we're going to use Namelix. That will AI generate brandable names based on keywords, styles, and brand descriptions. Next, you're going to want to establish a legitimate business. For this, we can use Busy to create the LLC, and this will only charge you your state fee. Next, we will go to irs.gov to get your EIN number. After that, we're going to need a Duns & Bradstreet number. This is a must in building business credit for your record label. After that, we can head over to GoDaddy to get your music business website. While we're there, we're going to get a professional email for your label, not an @gmail.com. That ain't going to cut it for them corporate folks, my boy. Now next, in order to get funded, we're going to need a real business address. For this, we're going to need to go over to Regis where we can get our virtual address. Then head over to freedomvoice.com to get your 800 number. This makes your label look better to banks. Try not to use your personal phone number. Now, an important step before we start going out there trying to get funded is to have a good credit history. We can do this by using nav.com and Credit Strong to get trade lines so that we can get funded over 6 figures by banks like PNC and Truist Bank on multiple products. So now you can give yourself that 6-figure advance that you deserve. Invest it all without losing ownership of your music. To learn how to get your record label started.
All right, I'm actually going to say something positive about this video first. All the stuff up until the funding, but also including the having a good credit score. All that stuff is great advice, just in general. If you're looking to incorporate, that's how you do it. If you're looking to get an FEIN, that's how you do it. What else? Yes, it's good to brand. He kind of made it, he zipped through it like it's the fastest thing in the world to just randomly generate a meaningless name with a logo. But I'm not going to harp on him for that. I think there was some value in that video
for sure. And a friend of mine I think he's the CEO of Busy, and you can actually get your EIN number and I think your DUNS number actually just through Busy, so you don't even have to do steps 2 and 3. I mean, you still have to do them, but it's even easier. You can do it through Busy. So yes, you should have a legit business. If you are serious about your career, you should have all of those steps. So up until the end, like it's not like banks aren't waiting for an artist to request funds so they can fund their next album. Like it's not that easy to get a loan, or this code would have been cracked hella long ago. You would have already, if it was this easy, people would have already known how to do this, and you guys would have already put 100 banks out of business. Because you're not going to be able to repay the loan when you complaining about streaming. So you're not getting no bread from streaming. So how are you going to pay this loan? You're going to tank your credit score, and all these dumbass banks that loaned your ass money are going out of business. And the banks wouldn't even exist anymore. It's not that easy to get a business loan. If you have an established business with steady cash flows, you've been paying your taxes, you can put together a business plan, you can present it, then you might be able to get a loan. But you can't sign up, like just create a random ass business and then turn around and ask for $100,000. Like I mean, if I'm wrong, Erinn, let me know. Is that how it works? Is it that easy?
Man, if it was this easy, I would have gone and started 5 different LLCs and got the bread and not invested it in the music industry. Like, there's so many things that
Yep.
I'm confused about because I feel like, um, the type of cap that they have on loans, if I'm not mistaken, is per industry as well. So it's like they're more prone to give a bigger loan to somebody with good credit, depending on the type of business entity it is. And there are a lot of other factors. I've started several businesses. Most of my businesses have been self-funded, or I've had investors for 2 of them. But the bank is not giving these type of, like, they're not. And as somebody with good credit and good business credit, the bank is not giving these loans. Like, for any business, much less the music business. So I feel like if somebody hears this and needs the advice, I think that your ignorance surpasses the understanding to even have a healthy business. So this definitely isn't for you. Like, if you look at this and you're like, yeah, I'm about to do this, this is not for you. Like, it's not for anybody, because if you understand it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But if you think that this is your big end, then your cognitive processing is too minute to even be able to facilitate a profitable business. And this is just going, any dollar amount that they give you, you're just going to lose it if you're planning on putting it into your music. So please don't, I'm sorry, just don't do this. This is about as good of advice as telling kids to get $100,000 student loans, like, and not knowing what they want to do. Like, don't do this.
It's so frustrating because like this captures people's attention right away because it seems like a shortcut. It seems easy. Everybody's looking to skip steps. So feels like it's right up your alley. However, if I do a 2 Loss office hour session about, how to run ads, or, a session with a booking agent on, the right way to tour, or touring strategy. Like, very few people are going to tap into that, because when we talk, there's actually going to be work involved. Like, if it's actually work involved, it's like, oh no, not signing up for that. But if I drop some bullshit video that tells you how to get $100,000 in 5 minutes, everybody's in the comments like, how do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? It's why it's so wild to me. And I get it. Like, most people ain't really serious about a career in music, because once they find out that it does take work, it's like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. And of course, on that page, this is the dude's biggest video. He probably put some ads behind it, trying to, I think he was selling a course too on kind of how to do this. And I'm glad he got your money, because if you gave him your money, you're an idiot. Yeah, it was it. So
yeah, there was an advertisement at the end, so we just gave him free advertisement.
No, because when it says 6-figure funding artist to CEO webinar, and I'm sure it existed at some point, but when I click on it, it don't open up anymore.
Oh,
I hope
he should be monetizing this.
Yeah, it says it has one of those 404 not found messages. Like, maybe too many people said this course was bullshit. But if he got your money, you deserve it. Like, if he got your money, you deserve it, because you're the one that's looking for shortcuts. You're the ones that are looking for things that don't exist. And you're the type of person that will never make it in the music industry. So, if you got extra money, you can throw it our way if you want. It seems like you're just in the business of throwing away money. So,
well, I'll say this for free. Three things. One, what is this narrative that I've fought against so often? It's that record label advances are loans, right? That's what everyone always says. It's just a loan. Why don't you a record deal is just a loan. And I always said it's not a loan because you don't have to pay it back. But that being said, when someone says, oh, don't get a record deal, just get an actual loan that you actually have to pay back, that will actually affect your credit score, that will actually go into collections if you default on. People are like, oh, yeah, that's crazy. That's a gem. No, it's not a fucking gem. It's a trap. And that's if you actually get it. If you have bad credit, you actually might get a loan because they're going to be predatory. They're going to give you a ridiculous interest rate. Google it. It's between 20% and 99% for a business loan on bad credit. And if you're this lost about finances, you probably have bad credit. So this is not something that you should be focusing on. But the other two things are, one, if you're at a point where no label is offering you any kind of six-figure deal, then don't offer yourself a six-figure deal. You don't need money. You need fans. You need to build community. You need to actually do the groundwork. Now, if a label does, and this is the only time I could think that this strategy would actually work, assuming you have good credit, assuming you know what you're doing. If a label comes along and says, yeah, you know, we want to offer you $250,000, and it's a deal that you're not happy with, the splits aren't favorable. All right, look, the label just gave you some intel on yourself, which is that you're valued at way more than 250,000. If they're offering you, you know, whatever they're offering you, 10x that at least. Be like, I can make that. That's how much the label is going to make off of me, probably, if not way more. So in that case, I would say, all right, what can I do to create a similar machine that the label would give me? And how much will that cost? If that's the case, now you write a business plan based on that, and you have a way more solid foundation to move towards a business loan that is actually going to be viable. Because otherwise, if you're just like, man, I need some money, I got 35 monthly listeners, if I could get $100,000 and just pay for playlisting, I'd be out of there. You're going to run through that $100,000 so quick, your credit's going to be fucked. You're going to be filing bankruptcy.
Yeah. Most people don't know what to do with if you're not making $100,000 in a year, like, you don't know what to do with $100,000. But let's just venture into these dumbass comments. Let's do that.
This is dangerous, damn.
One person says, game, this is what Russ did. He financed his whole album with bank loans. Now, Russ did talk about that, but he talked about it at a point when his business was healthy and he had already been making a shitload of money. So it was about using other people's money to finance what he was doing so that he can put his money to other uses, right? So he had probably the money 4 times over, like, what he was trying to borrow, right? So if he was trying to borrow,
it must be so maddening to be Russ and seeing all the shit that you did get perverted and then rehashed and repackaged as misinformation.
Yeah, everything doesn't apply to you. Just because someone does something, that's not you. Like, just because Beyonce can do certain things from a marketing perspective, that's not you. Like, I don't understand why people don't fail to understand that people are in different circumstances. There are different things going on with Russ than with the people that are replying. Look, I mean, I'm sure he put ads behind this, and that's part of why it got ran up. But I think, you know, everybody commenting CEO, that was probably like an auto response so people can get his course via DM. So I think that's why everybody's responding CEO. But yeah, I mean, it's just so frustrating because, like, you know, like I said before, this takes real work. And if you find something where, you know, it makes it ridiculously easy to do something or to make some progress, then it's fake. Like, it's just fake. Like, you got to put in the work to do this. But we do have to take some learning from it. We have to make our content seem a little bit more appealing. We're not going to change it so that it's not true. But if I need to scream a little more, whatever colors you guys like, however you guys like to be served, we're going to try to we're going to feed you like babies, and just, you know, you put it on the spoon and, you know, do the little airplane or whatever, and just have to put foot in people's mouth, because it's ridiculous that that's the case. But, you know, there's some learning we can take away from it as well, because this kind of content is winning, and we can format our stuff a little differently.
Drop your favorite colors and favorite flavor of Gerber baby food in the comments, please.
Yeah, they need to be spoon fed, man. It's ridiculous.
Well, not everyone. I mean, anyway.
No, I mean the people that really rock with us like have a little bit more patience. You know, they have their attention span is a little longer. They might sit through a whole two lost office hour session. They might watch a whole episode of this podcast, but they're probably getting tired of us complaining about idiots. We should probably be more constructive and just kind of ignore some of this stuff. But it's frustrating when you when on our side when you make content like this.
Yeah, I mean, you're either watching a full episode because your hatred is just unparalleled, or you have a pretty high attention span, and you're probably a nerd.
Now there are definitely people in here like co-signing. I wouldn't be surprised if he had people comment positively on this just to kind of run up his sales.
I don't think so, Dame. I think people just really like the baby food appeal of very simple and straightforward information. And I think the vast majority of the people saying, yeah, this is it, these are gems, they're not going to do any of this.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, man, I'm disappointed in TJ because like he's way too established to be reposting this stuff and giving it a bigger platform, giving it credibility. So I know he knows this shit's not real. I hope he knows this shit's not real. That's unfortunate if that was the case, because somebody else is like, I'm doing all this shit right now. Every step he just said, crazy. But yeah, you have to work on your personal credit while trying to build business credit too, unless you have good credit already. Like, oh my God.
I have great credit and I would never do that.
Yeah, it's wild out here. Anyway, let's pivot to our last topic.
Somebody said this is the stuff that the ones who have made it gatekeep. It's sickening. There's enough money out there for everyone. This is solid. I'm like, what?
Erinn, this is like that. I don't know how much YouTube you watch, but have you ever seen the pre-roll ads where it's like, this video will get banned, so please watch now. We have unlocked the secret to, and whatever it is, we've unlocked this. It's a cure for herpes. It's a shortcut to $500,000 through a government grant that no one knows about, but somehow they are out of the goodness of their heart telling you about. This is the secret to building muscle and burning fat without ever lifting a finger. You can eat donuts for every meal of the day. It works, man. People are dumb.
You know, obviously there's a lot of positive things about the time we live in, but man, sometimes I just all day just keep getting hit with different things that make me shake my head. I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. And then people fall for it, like left and right. I'd be interested to know how much this cat made from his webinar.
Probably 6 figures. And speaking of 6 figures, I've been trying to segue in a natural way.